Afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Funding Opportunities for Your Community in 2023, an overview of what is ahead, hosted by the Bureau of Justice Assistance. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Courtney Stewart, Senior Policy Advisor with the Bureau of Justice Assistance, for some welcome remarks and to begin the presentation. Courtney?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Courtney Stewart, and I am a Policy Advisor for BJA. I'm happy to be here with you along with my colleague, David Lewis, and we will be hosting our webinar today. Our agenda today explains funding opportunities available to you through BJA, and it also gives you an opportunity for questions and answers. First, we'll start off with a small overview of the Office of Justice Programs. The Bureau of Justice Assistance is located within the Office of Justice Programs, or OJP. OJP provides a wide range of services to the criminal justice community in the forms of grants, trainings, technical assistance, and research. Although our focus today is on BJA funding opportunities, there are other OJP offices shown on this slide that offer additional grants and programs to support our shared public safety missions. The COPS office and the Office for Violence Against Women are two of the other DOJ components that provide important resources for the criminal justice community. BJA is proud to support our nation's state, local, and tribal criminal justice agencies with the express purpose of reducing crime and strengthening communities. One of the most important ways that we do this is by providing grants to agencies and communities in order to support local efforts. We do our best to design programs that are responsive to real-world challenges and provide maximum flexibility for local implementation. BJA is committed to streamlining the application process and minimizing the administrative burden of managing our grants. We have made real progress in recent years in these areas, and it has never been easier to apply for and manage a BJA grant. Please remember to review and apply for your grant as early as possible. We have the support to help you succeed, and it's important to utilize all the time that you have to prepare for your grant. The next slide shows a photo of our new BJA director, Mr. Carlton Moore. He was appointed by President Biden in February 2022, and he oversees the 4 offices within BJA. Within BJA, we have 5 major strategic focus areas, which you can see on the slide. Also, BJA strives to fund, educate, and equip and partner with you in order to facilitate grants within our communities. There are 2 types of BJA grants that you are eligible to apply for. The discretionary grants, in which applicants apply directly to OJP and BJA, and formula grants are most often non-competitive on a non-competitive basis. Please be sure that you are applying for the right type of grant. We will start our presentation with grants related to programs that support behavioral health and community-based criminal justice initiatives. The first grant in this category is the COSAP grant. For those of you who have formerly written BJA grants, you will know that you might know COSUP to be formerly COSAP. We have changed the name, so please be aware that COSAP is now COSUP. This grant focuses on supporting effective local, state, and tribal responses to illicit substance use and substance use disorders in order to reduce overdose deaths, promote public safety, and support access to treatment and recovery services throughout the criminal justice system. Our next slide will show the 9 focus areas that COSAP that you can apply for COSAP funding for, and depending on your community needs. The average amount for this program is $1 million. And our next slide shows the fiscal year 2023 COSAP opportunities. Our next slide is the Justice and Mental Health Collaboration Program. This program seeks to increase public safety by facilitating collaboration among criminal justice, mental health, and substance use treatment entities. The average award amount for this program is $550,000, and example projects include, but are not limited to, mental health court or other court-based programs, and programs that support cooperative efforts by public safety officials and service providers to connect individuals with treatment and social services. Our next program is the Prescription Drug Monitoring Program. This has been funded since 2006, and the goal of this program is to invest in partnership with state prescription drug monitoring programs in strategies to strengthen the system and support enhancements that improve clinical decision-making and prevent the abuse and diversion of controlled substances. Our next program is the Stop School Violence Training and Technical Assistance Program. Please keep in mind, this is a training and technical assistance solicitation. So if you are a training and technical assistance provider, this may be something that you would be interested in. The Stop School Violence Program provides funding to support threat assessments, mental health training, anti-bullying training, and technology solutions such as anonymous reporting systems. The Training and Technical Assistance Program will, in fiscal year 2023, will give one award in the amount of $8 million. And that will provide training and technical assistance for all STOP programs across the country. The next program that we will talk about is the Kevin and Avant program, reducing injury and death of missing individuals with dementia and developmental disabilities. This program supports local jurisdictions' efforts to reduce the number of deaths and injuries of individuals with forms of dementia, such as Alzheimer's, or developmental disabilities, such as autism. The next program is the Connect and Protect program. Fiscal year 2023 opportunities will be for up to 30 awards at $550,000 average per award. And this program, Connect, focused on building and implementing collaborative law enforcement and mental health responses, such as co-responder teams, crisis intervention teams, and integrated community providers. This program supports public safety and health partnerships with social services and other organizations that will improve responses to people with mental health disabilities and co-occurring diseases. Our next program is the Coordinated Tribal Assistance Solicitation. This program seeks to improve public safety and victim services in tribal communities. The solicitation provides federally recognized tribes and tribal consortia with an opportunity to apply for funds to aid in developing a comprehensive and coordinated approach to public safety and victimization. The average number of awards for this year will be 40 to 50 awards. Our next program is Reimagining Justice, testing a new model of community safety. This year, we will award up to 5 awards for $1 million to support the development and testing of new or innovative approaches that improve community safety and trust using alternatives to traditional enforcement mechanisms. Our next program is Field Initiated, Encouraging Innovation. This program invests in collaborations with the field to prevent and reduce crime and enhance the criminal justice system through innovative approaches that accelerate justice. We have 2 categories for this award. We will provide up to 10 awards this year for up to $1 million. The National Center on Restorative Justice will continue to expand activities of the National Center on Restorative Justice. For fiscal year 2023, the number of awards will be 1 award for up to $3 million. Our next program is the Tribal Training and Technical Assistance Program. And again, if you are a training and technical assistance provider, this may be a program that you're interested in. The fiscal year, for our fiscal year, there will be 7 training and technical assistance awards, and the average award will be at $1,800,000. Our next program is Improving Adult and Youth Crisis Stabilization and Community Reentry. For fiscal year 23, there will be up to 10 awards. And the average amount of each award will be up to $750,000. And programs funded under this solicitation must make sure, this program will support state, local, and tribal governments, as well as community-based nonprofit organizations and eligible behavioral health providers to coordinate and provide comprehensive treatment, recovery, and other supportive reentry services to people experiencing mental health, substance use, or co-occurring disorders who are currently or were formerly involved in the justice system. And the last award under this category is the Price of Justice, Rethinking Fines and Fees. This program will fund training and technical assistance to help localities reduce the reliance of fines and fees, reduce the impact of fines and fees, and reduce jailing as a result of fines and fees within the community. There will be 1 award up to $2,500,000. Now I would like to turn the slideshow over to my colleague, David, who will continue our conversation with programs that support law enforcement.
Thank you, Courtney. This is David Lewis. I'm a senior policy advisor for the Bureau of Justice Assistance under the Law Enforcement Operations section. The slides I'm going to go over now are ones dealing specifically with getting information for law enforcement and correctional facilities. The first one we'll talk about is the body-worn camera program. And this is a purchase or lease program, and it's designed to for deployment either as a pilot, full implementation, or an expansion of an existing program. The goals of this program are officer safety, enhance evidentiary value, accountability, transparency, and mutual trust. There's a note that there are very specific guidelines for this program to include policy approvals, restrictions, and how funds can be spent and agency size. Those interested agencies need to read this solicitation very carefully and ask the appropriate questions. Next, we'll talk about the Collaborative Crisis Response Training Program. And this is a training initiative for law enforcement and correctional officers. The goals of this program are to educate these officers so they can interact with individuals with behavioral health conditions or disability. The application should reflect a best practices program, the development methodology evaluation, and most importantly, how the program will be sustained. The average amount of these awards will be $250,000. The next program is the Virtual Reality De-escalation Training. This is a law enforcement training focused program utilizing virtual reality technology. The proposed application should allow for multiple participants in this training. The goal is to improve law enforcement responses to individuals in crisis. The awards under this program are up to $800,000. Next, we'll talk about the Smart Policing Initiative demonstration program. The focus of this program is to identify pressing crime issues. The successful candidates will need to show the use of promising practices, data collection, and use of technology to respond to the identified crimes. Documentation of the crime issues in the application process have to be supported by data and will be beneficial in the application review. This program will prioritize applications being submitted to support real-time crime centers, especially those with documented violent crime and gun rates. Awards under this section would be up to $375,000. Next, we'll talk about the Crime Gun Intelligence Center Integration Initiative, or we call it the CGIC program. This is a collaborative program with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. The required caveat for this program is that the applicant must show a precipitous increase in gun-related violent crimes. The goal is to have agencies work with the ATF utilizing intelligence, technology, and community engagement, and not only identify these crimes, but also prosecute the perpetrators. The awards under this section are up to $700,000. The next program, this is a TA program, a Training and Technical Assistance program under the Internet of Things. This is limited applications for institutions of higher learning. The value to law enforcement and public safety agencies is that successful applicants under this program will be required to provide training on Internet of Things to state, local, tribal, and territorial agencies, both online and in person. The program is especially interested in educating prosecutors and judges along with law enforcement. No applications under this program will be accepted from individual agencies. Next, we'll talk about the Intellectual Property Enforcement Program. This program is designed to assist state, local, tribal, and territorial law enforcement and public safety agencies to investigate and prosecute intellectual property crimes. This also includes the education of community on what intellectual property crimes are, how to report, and how not to be a victim. This is a requirement for successful candidates to work with federal agencies that are also working on intellectual property crimes. Funds can be used for staff, storage of evidence, and task force operations. Awards will be up to $250,000. Next, we'll talk about the Sexual Assault Initiative, which is also called SACI. This program is specifically focused on assisting agencies with the inventory, testing, and tracking of sexual assault kits. The goal is to improve the practices related to investigations, prosecution, and victim engagement. There's also a multidisciplinary approach for policy efforts. The intention is also to make necessary training readily available to the field. Awards under this section can be up to $1.2 million. Next, we'll talk about the Paul Coverdale Forensic Science Improvement Grants Program. This program is specifically targeted for medical examiners and coroner's offices. The goal is to improve the quality and timeliness of forensic science being used by these offices. There are two award elements under this program. There's a competitive award section and a formula award section. And under the formula awards, this is limited to states and territories who will be identified as potential award recipients. Next, we'll talk about the post-conviction testing of DNA evidence. The focus of this program is post-conviction DNA testing. These applicants are limited to states, units of governments, namely cities, boroughs, townships, parishes, and counties, and institutions of higher learning. The goal is to assist with the cost of post-conviction processing where it may show actual innocence. Awards in this section would be up to $750,000. Next, we'll talk about prosecuting cold cases using DNA. This program specifically provides funding to prosecute cold cases utilizing DNA. This is focused on prosecution element of violent cold cases, and it's note that it is violent cold cases. The program does provide assistance for prosecuting agencies to increase their capacity to address violent cold cases and what they need to articulate in the application that specific the cold case. These awards are up to $500,000. Next one is strengthening the medical examiner coroner system program. This is another program focused on medical examiners and coroners offices. The goal is to increase the number of board-certified forensic pathologists, strengthen quality and consistency of their services, and to increase the public trust. Awards under this program are up to $100,000. With that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Courtney.
Thank you, David. Next, we will talk about the programs that support courts, prosecution, and defense. The first program that we'll discuss is the Emmett Till Cold Case Investigation Program. This program, the purpose of this program is to support the investigation and prosecution of racially motivated cold case murders and including support for victims' families and stakeholders impacted by these cases. Funds are limited to cases where deaths occurred prior to 1980, and there will be 3 awards for fiscal year 2023, and the average award will be $750,000. The Innovative Prosecution Solutions, ISP, for combating violent crime, also known as Smart Prosecution, is designed to support prosecutors' offices to reduce caseloads, improve processes, and provide modern technology to better manage and track cases. The Smart Prosecution Program will have up to 13 awards this year. Average amount will be $385,000, and there is also a training and technical assistance opportunity, 1 award at $500,000. The Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Program supports state, local, and tribal law enforcement and prosecution agencies in their outreach and education of the public, victims, and their staff and partners about hate crimes. There will be 13 awards for fiscal year 2023. Average award will be up to $4 million. The goal of the John R. Justice Grant Program is to offer an incentive for all states and territories to be able to attract, recruit, and retain talented and eligible local, state, and federal public defenders. This slide should say fiscal year 2023, but the 2023 opportunities will be up to $35,147 for 56 awards. The next program is the Community Courts Program. The goal is to encourage the successful replication of the community court model and the application of a community court program within the wider community. Any jurisdictions who are awarded grants under the Community Courts Program will be provided with training and opportunities to enhance and start a community courts program. The number of awards for fiscal year 2023 is 10. The average award amount is up to $900,000. The Adult Drug Court Program supports efforts by state, local, and tribal courts to address the needs of individuals in the criminal justice system with substance use issues, including targeting the needs of adults, and there are also juvenile programs. For fiscal year 2023, the estimated number of awards are 42, and there are 3 categories for those awards. In addition to the Adult Drug Court Grant Program, we also have the Adult Drug Court Training and Technical Assistance Initiative. So if you're a TA provider, you will be eligible to apply for this funding. The estimated number of awards will be 5. The estimated award amount will be up to $2 million. The Veterans Treatment Court Program targets the needs of veterans who are in the criminal justice system and have substance abuse issues. In fiscal year 2023, we have 22 awards that will be given in 3 categories. The Upholding the Rule of Law and Preventing Wrongful Convictions programs provides funding to support case reviews and post-conviction claims of innocence with a focus on those cases at greater risk for error. In fiscal year 2023, there will be 16 awards, up to $600,000 per award. The Capital Case Litigation Program will have 1 award this year, up to $1 million. And this program helps protect the integrity of the criminal justice system by providing effective training programs, resources, and tools for state and local prosecutors and defense attorneys to build their capacity as capital litigators and ensure effective representation in state capital cases. And this includes judges. One award for up to $1 million. And then our final category is programs that support corrections, and I will turn it over to David to finish us up in this last category.
Thank you, Courtney. The next program I'm talking about today is our Prison Rape Elimination Act, which is under our PREA. This is for our resource center. Again, this is one of our TTA award programs, and applicants are limited to service providers. This program is designed to provide resources and information about successes under the PREA program. The goal for this program is to assess state, local, tribal agencies and facilities with PREA implementations, training, and technical assistance for BJA-funded PREA sites. Next program is the Second Chance Act Community-Based Reentry Program. Applicants for this program are nonprofit service providers and tribes, and the goal is to partner with corrections to provide critical transitional services for offenders. A key element of this program is the building of partnerships with corrections, parole, probation, and other reentry services. Awards under this program are up to $750,000. The next program, Improving Reentry Education and Employment Outcomes Program. This program also builds on partnerships with corrections, parole, probation, and other reentry providers. The goal is to expand education and employment programs and reduce recidivism. Applicants can apply for funding for this to establish and improve academic, vocational, and career programs for prisons and jails. Awards under this program are up to $900,000. Next, let's talk about the Improving Substance Use Disorder Treatment and Recovery Outcomes for Adults in Reentry. This program is designed for correctional systems. The goal is to address substance use disorder for those individuals incarcerated and in a reentry process. The applicants should show how the program will reduce recidivism and promote recovery with the intent to improve public safety and public health. Awards under this program are up to $900,000. The next program is Smart Entry Innovations for Jail. This is a reentry program and it's designed for local jurisdictions. The goal is to assess, identify strengths and gaps, and build capacity for improvement. This program also supports the implementation and expansion of service deliveries with community-based providers. Awards under this program are up to $1 million. Next is our Second Chance Act Pay for Success initiative. This program is for state, local, tribal government entities, and the goal is to enhance or implement specific contracts with housing providers to reduce recidivism and address substance abuse disorders for the formerly incarcerated. Awards under this program are up to $1 million. The next program is our SWIFT Certain and Fair Supervision Program, applying the principles behind Project Hope. These applicants for this program will be community supervision agencies. The goal is to reduce crimes committed by and improve outcomes by using swift, certain, and fair principles of intervention. These activities include, but not limited to, drug and alcohol screening, training, treatment, staffing, and overtime. Awards under this program are up to $800,000. The next section that I'm going to talk about here are our formula programs. And these formula programs are ones that the guidelines are set up. They're not individual applications, but there are some certain different ones, and we'll talk about them here. The first is the DNA Capacity Enhancement for Backlog Reduction Program, or CEBR. This is a formula program for states and local governments with existing crime labs. The goal is to increase capacity to process more DNA samples in an effort to reduce and prevent backlogs. Awards under this program are up to $500,000. Our next program is Project Safe Neighborhoods. This program is specifically designed to reduce crime associated with gang and gun violence. These funds are distributed through the U.S. Attorney's Office to state, local, tribal, and territorial agencies. Awards under this program are up to $190,000. The next program is our Residential Substance Abuse Treatment for State Prisoners Program, or RSAT. This program is for states and local governments to develop and implement substance treatment programs for state, local, tribal, correctional, and detention locations. Funds can be used for aftercare services. Awards under this program are up to $724,218. Our next program is the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program, or JAG. You'll see here, these are a list of all the different areas where people that can apply for this money. But again, this is a formula program. It is estimated that approximately $95 million will go to local JAG programs, and $195 million will go to the state JAG program. And those funds that go to the state JAG program are usually available to state, local, tribal, and territorial agencies within that area. Next. The next is the Patrick Leahy Bulletproof Vest Program. And this is a reimbursable program. And this particular program is to reimbursement for bullet resistant vests. Allocations go first for areas that have 100,000 residents population. There's the estimated funding under this program is $25 million. Next is the State Criminal Alien Assistance Payment Program, which is the SCAP program. This is for states and local governments for costs related to the incarceration of undocumented criminal aliens. This is a reimbursement program also, and the estimated funding total for this is $234 million. The next program that I'm going to talk about is payments program. And these are some other types of assistance that the Bureau of Justice Assistance does make available to the field. And these particular payments are awarded directly by OJP to eligible applicants. And they do have to make some application to OJP and BJA. And then it is on a reimbursement basis. Next, I just want to talk about that when we do our solicitations, that we're looking at many of these applications and these solicitations that you'll see out there will be posted on the BJA website in February and March. This submission deadlines are usually 60 days after it's open. And one of the things that I'd be important to point out to you, that we now use a two-step process, and there are separate deadlines for each of them. First is making application to grants.gov, and second is making the application to our Just Grant system. So it's very important that you, when you look at the solicitation, to make sure that you notice both of the deadline dates, because if you miss the first deadline date, you're not able to make that application to Just Grants. The other thing that I would let you know is it's very important that when you see a solicitation out there posted for BJA, that if you have questions, that you ask them. You should never assume that you think you know what we're looking for, but that's what we're here to do, to assist you in the best way that we can. The next slide, we talk about resources for funding opportunities. And this is actually a link that will be made available to you. And it's a tool to help you look at funding opportunities, the categories that we're in, and summary details on some of the things that not only BJA, but other DOJ agencies have available for you in the field as a state, local, tribal, territorial agency. Finally, you'll see this slide here is our resources for funding opportunities. We have the BJA website, the OJP, which is the overseeing one of everything. grants.gov, and this is something that if you're looking for awards out there, that you should go to grants.gov, be very familiar of it. Also, it has questions answered. We can get questions answered about our Just Grants program. And then you also have the on this award data one, this talks about if you're looking for something that's a program in FY23, it has you go back and look at maybe some of the previous awardees that got that money in FY22 or FY21 and look at some of the applications and what kind of programs that were actually funded previously under that type of award. And the last one on this list is our NIJ Crime Solutions link. We also have these recordings and everything are available at this particular location. And they will be made available within the next period of time, I think within a few days. Available, and the way BJA and OJP, we use a peer review process. If you have some expertise and you'd like to be a peer reviewer, this is reimbursed. You do get payment to be a peer reviewer for us, and we urge you to come into BJA and be a peer reviewer in our process. We'll also talk about the webinar series that we have, and that you'll see here that the next one's listed for Thursday, February 9th at 10:30 a.m. And you should plan on joining and being there. The more information you can get about the funding process at the federal level, the better chance you have of being a successful applicant. Here's some of the next one talks about where we make information available. OJP does and BJ does make announcements on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We also talk about our OJP Response Center, and this has the current links and phone numbers to ask the questions. You can't subscribe to this service, but I will tell you right now that, and I urge, and I said this already, that if you're reading a solicitation by BJ or one of our sister agencies at the OJP, if you have a question, you need to ask us about it, and never assume you think you know what we're asking for. Sometimes that clarification can be whether or not you are a successful grantee at the Bureau of Justice Assistance. With that, Daryl, I will turn it back over to you.
Great. Thanks so much, David. Thanks so much, Courtney. A lot of information to get to there. And I just want to remind everybody, we talked about it earlier in the webinar and throughout, a lot of questions. The PowerPoint recording and transcript for today's webinar will be made available for you to go back and reference. So what we'll do is when we do post those to the BJA website, you'll be emailed. We're going to be emailing the links through the registration list today, and you'll have direct links to those when those are available. So for the rest of the time we have today, we'll go ahead and take questions for the panelists. And what you can do is enter those in the Q&A box sent to all panelists, and you'll get them in queue, and we'll go through those the next 15 or so minutes. So for the panel, regarding JMHCP, are programs focused on serving juveniles eligible for that program? And your lines may be muted.
Courtney, are you able to answer that one?
Yes, I was just going back to review the slide. It was for the JMHCP. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes. What I would do for this one, I would contact. If you look on the solicitation once it comes out, I would contact the program manager, and that person should be able to tell you whether or not juveniles are able, if you can apply this to the juvenile justice system. So when you review your solicitation, it's very early in the solicitation, maybe on the second or third page, you will find the contact information of the program manager, and they will be able to give you all of the specifics. You can email or you can call that individual. So that's what I would do in this case, just to be 100% sure.
For the COSUP program, can applicants apply for continuation funding?
Yes, applicants can apply for continuation funding with the COSAP program.
Then realizing it's solicitation specific, but generally are institutions of higher education eligible for BJA solicitations, either as a prime awardee or sub-awardee partner?
Usually, if you go to the eligibility section of any solicitation, it will specifically state whether or not institution of higher learning are allowed to apply directly. But in many of the cases, institution of higher learning are subrecipients to many of our other awards.
If a solicitation has multiple categories within it, can an organization or entity be the lead grantee in one category and a sub-grantee of another?
Yes, you can be a you could be a lead grantee. I'm sorry, Dave, I didn't mean to
No, go ahead, Courtney.
Cross in front of you. Yes, you can be a you can be in both categories. You can apply as a lead grantee and then as a sub grantee if they're going to be separate categories. Yes, you can do that.
Yeah, and I would just add that we've had a few programs over the years. I don't know any currently, but sometimes there are some restrictions, and it will be very clearly stated in the solicitation if there are any restrictions on that. That's why I can't stress enough the importance of reading the entire solicitation and reading it very carefully.
Regarding COSUP again, can one entity apply for a new grant if their current grant ends September 24?
I would say in regards to COSAP, again, as David stated, I would contact the program managers who was listed on the solicitation, and they should be able to review your current grant, and they'll be able to review the eligibility based on you already receiving those grant funds and let you know if you are eligible to apply for new funding.
Can law enforcement agencies apply for a co-responder program under JMHCP?
Could you repeat that, please? I'm just looking for the slide really quick so that I can review it.
And if you get it, I can go back to that too, Courtney. But the question is, can law enforcement agencies apply for a co-responder program under the JMHCP program?
For a co-responder for, so what would be considered with the co-responder? Would it be a mental health responder that works along with law enforcement? If they could just provide a little bit more information.
If I just jump in here real quick, Courtney, I think in remembering this, that it's supposed to be cross-system collaboration. So if the application is, and this is, I'll echo what you've said before, the importance of calling, asking the question very specifically to make sure that, you know, you don't make application and you're outside the scope. That's the first thing. The second one is in this particular program, it does specifically state cross-system collaboration.
Great, thanks for that clarification, David. And I'll actually go back to what was asked several times regarding the COSUP program for specific questions regarding contacting the program manager. Actually, if you want, most all questions can be referred to the OJP Response Center. I'll go to that slide right now. This has been entered in the chat for you to cut and paste as you like. But if you do have specific questions about the solicitations or anything current, you can contact them directly and they'll be able to assist you in a timely manner. So I'll just leave this slide up a little more. Is Connect and Protect also only for community programs, or can it be within prisons as well?
Darryl, I have that as slide 21. If you want to put that back up there.
And then here, yeah, here's slide 21. more information on it.
If you read this, it looks like it says law enforcement focus. But again, you have to look at the solicitation because sometimes it provides a clear definition of what's considered law enforcement.
Regarding the virtual reality de-escalation training, is that only for law enforcement or is corrections included with that? Oh,
Check on that. I think that's the one I responded on. Let me just, I'm trying to take a look.
yeah, slide 32, David. I put it up as well.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see a restriction on that. But again, once the solicitation comes out, I know a lot of times we'll look at that. It has certain limitations to it, but once you take a look at that, once the solicitation's out there, I know we're having a lot of cross-reference between law enforcement and correction officers. So I would wait for the solicitation to go out there. And then if you have any additional questions, please contact us here at BJA.
And then just a general question on where these opportunities can be found. The solicitations will be posted to the BJA funding section. We'll put that in the chat. Everything's going to be listed there with the due dates for both grants.gov and Just Grants, which David mentioned at the end of the presentation. 2 separate due dates. And you definitely want to have to make the first one to be able to apply and meet the second one. We'll go ahead and put that general in the link.
They will also be, they're always listed on the grants.gov site. If you go to grants.gov, there are 26 federal agencies that post funding on there, and you can actually put keywords on there where they'll make notification to you when it's posted, but you also can subscribe to notifications on the BJ website for when we post a new solicitation.
Can SACI funds be used to continue the support of a state's sexual assault evidence kit tracking database, which includes funding for technical support and additional customizations of an existing database?
The funds, from my understanding, for that particular program is specifically for the processing of the kits. But if you send that question to the resource center, I'll ask the question. We'll get a specific answer for that. But my understanding is it's for the processing of the kit itself.
And then Courtney and David, just generally, as far as the expectation of releasing all these, is there a general statement or guideline that can be mentioned as far as anticipation of release dates for these?
The best thing to do is to continue to check the BJA site under funding because they are being released on a daily basis. We're working very diligently to get them out as quickly as possible. So I would check every day. I would go ahead and check because a lot of the fiscal year 23 solicitations are already out.
And a reminder as well, the webinar on Thursday at 10:30 a.m. will answer many questions as well that you all have from today's session. It'll get into a little more in depth on the process, how to apply, things to have prepared and ready. So would definitely encourage everybody on today's webinar to register for that. And that one will also be made available on the website once that's concluded. Then this question, can you apply for more than one opportunity at any given time?
Yes, you can apply for more than one opportunity at a time. Absolutely.
The only restrictions you have on that is in some of our solicitations, they ask if you have applied for any additional funds in a similar program. For example, that you might have applied with BJA or maybe have issued a COPS grant or something with DHS under FEMA. That's the only kind of caveat that we ask sometimes to ensure that we're not doing duplication of funding.
Regarding the improving reentry and education and employment solicitation, are applicants able to apply for both tracks under education and employment for that one?
I don't believe, that's not, I'm not directly responsible for that one, but I don't believe they're separate tracks. I believe they're they're programs. They're examples of programs. So you would articulate that in your application on how you were attempting to use the funds requested.
And then generally, regarding the peer review process, I don't know if you could speak to that a little bit. Are there separate review panels for each section of the applications? Are reviewers, switched out or different for each funding year cycle?
We use peer review panels. What we do is we identify peer review panels. We like to use new reviewers as we go from year to year when we can. But in a solicitation where there may be multiple categories, each category will have its own peer review panel. And but it also depends on how many applications come in. For example, we usually don't ask a peer reviewer to do maybe more than between 10 and 15 applications, and that's a high end. But sometimes where we have a low number of applications come in, where there are multiple panels, and the peer reviewers have that expertise for each of the categories, we might have them review for each category. I would say each of these vary from program to program. Courtney, do you have anything to add on that?
No, I think that's correct. Thank you for your answer.
And I have the somebody did ask for this slide to be put up so you get the information. And with the email address here, bjreviewer@ojp.ustoj.gov. Will there be another round of funding for BJA Stop School Violence Program, not the Technical Assistance Grant Program?
I believe that program will have an FY23. I don't know if it was posted yet this year, but there is one usually I know there is funding for FY23.
And for the CGIC program, if you can alert me to what that stood for, again, I can go to that slide. Is there a minimum threshold for what you would consider a precipitous increase for that grant? Is there a certain that?
Yeah, the way we look at precipitous increase, what you have to do is look over a year's period, over a 2-year period usually, and you submit those statistics for that particular area over that period of time, and then they take a look at, because the other thing is too is one of the things we've found out over the years is a precipitous increase for a particular area is different than maybe a larger area where they have higher crime numbers. So what they do is they do an evaluation based on a case by case basis. But you do have to submit the documentation on those particular increases, specifically on violent crime and gun crime.
David, regarding BWC, body worn camera, prosecutor's office in a large metro area, they process a large volume of body worn camera video for evidence presentation. Are prosecutor's offices eligible to apply for that? Or is it strictly law enforcement? And basically, they from the angle of processing the video and the technology piece.
Yeah, it's a body worn camera program. So those, like if you had investigators where they were going to wear body worn cameras, that's what the program is for. There is some subsections. Again, you have to look at the categories that's listed in the solicitation, and they'll tell you specifically what it can be used for. And then you look up under the eligibility section, and it will specifically tell you who may apply for that particular funding and under which categories.
And David, this one, it's a yearly question and a valid one. Will there be funding for drones within correctional facilities, either now or in the future?
As of right now, there is a restriction by the Department of Justice that drone or unmanned aerial devices are not permitted to use federal funding out of DOJ. That paragraph and that restriction is in every one of our solicitations currently.
Great, thank you. So we're at time here. Courtney, David, I don't know if there's anything in sum that you wanted to mention to the audience today before we wrap up.
Courtney, I'll let you go first.
I just wanted to say I'm excited to see so many people in the webinar interested in applying for the different grants. And just please be sure to read your solicitation, email or call the solicitation manager, and also just seek out all of the information that you can. We are here to help. We will, if we don't have the answer, we will assist you with getting the answer, but each program has a specific program manager, and they are really helpful in helping you to get down to the details and to ensure that you are eligible to apply. So please take advantage of that.
I would just like to echo what my colleague Courtney had said. Is it's so important to read the solicitation, and I mean the entire solicitation. The other thing is you should make a checklist for yourself on the required elements for submitting an application. And that's very important because some applications require letters of intent or memorandums of understanding with other partners. The other thing is too is to be very clear on the items that you're requesting, and that if you have a subrecipient in your award, that they're eligible to be part of that particular award. And it's just so important that you prepare and your application in doing it and not wait till the last minute to submit, because sometimes when you have a large number of applicants trying to submit at the same time and you get to that deadline, there for some reason you may not be able to get into the system. So if you're looking at any funding, please think early, start your drafts early, ask your questions, and then submit early. Thank you.
And I just have one last thing. Also, if you continue to check the BJA site under funding and resources, we are in the process of uploading sample project narratives that will be very useful when you are developing yours. So please be sure to continue to check for those.
Yeah, thank you both. And that's a great segue to, once again, Thursday's webinar on the funding process. We're going to get into a lot of the how-tos. So definitely something of interest as far as how to get items ready and prepared and submitted in time. Once again, everything will be posted to the BJ website. You'll receive an email when those are posted, and you'll be able to access this PowerPoint and recording directly from there. So with that, on behalf of the Bureau of Justice Assistance and our panelists, we want to thank you for joining today's webinar. This will end today's presentation.